Hi folks, it's Jan of the Jan Files. I hope you will subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. I got really triggered today and I want to tell you about it. I want to give you a little bit of background about how I think and who I am. So I believe, in essence, that every human being should have the right to live a full and free life, that they are able to experience joy and love and prosper in whatever way that means to them, as long as they don't hurt anyone else. And I'm not talking about hurting someone's feelings. I am talking about hurting people. And so I firmly believe that and live by it. However, I have found that not all of my so-called allies think the same thing, because I have too often had conversations or seen people who say that they are liberal or they are Democrats, moderate, whatever, and that they have a problem with transgender people in sports. And I just want to barf, because it's like talking about voter fraud. There is no voter fraud. It's non-existent. Okay, whether you talk to the Brennan Center or whether you talk to the Heritage Foundation, which is probably the most conservative body out there, who did their own research and found out that voter fraud doesn't exist. So this whole idea of an advantage to trans girls in sports is nonsense. First, let's talk about the world. We're talking the world and all this operates. So there are about 500,000 NCAA athletes. 0.002. So let me just say that again. 0.002% are transgender athletes. You know how many that is? That's less than 10 kids. In the Olympics, it's 0.001%. This barely it scratches the surface of anything. And the reality is, once you're in hormone treatment, your ability to physically be stronger than a cisgender girl is non-existent. It's about this. So in over 3 years' time, the lower body strength can actually diminish, and lung capacity on trans girls. So I'm hoping I'm saying that right, as trans girls. Because I never, ever want to try to say the wrong thing. Sometimes I do. I always ask my kids, who are not here right now, just to make sure that I'm trying, that I'm using the right language. But at the end of the day, this is not a problem. And yet it has been made their problem. They have been bullied and harassed. And even kids who are not trans have had to prove that they're not. Because other people, parents or whatever, think, she doesn't look so feminine. She's probably not a girl. And so these kids get harassed. And the reality is, there is no there there. But yet, as a country, and as, even in the world, this has become blown way out of proportion. This has got nothing to do with anyone. These kids should be able to make those choices with their parents, with their doctors, and figure out how they want to live their lives. It's not your fucking business. It's not hurting you. They aren't grooming your kids. This idea that gay people can train kids to be gay is like ludicrous. What we really need to worry about, which clearly this administration doesn't have any relationship to worrying about pedophiles, the real pedophiles who go after our girls and boys. That's where our focus should be. And yet it's not. Too many Republicans and too many goddamn Democrats kind of get wishy-washy on this issue about sports. You know, it's so horrifying because these kids are bullied. Some of them kill themselves because they don't belong and because we won't allow them to belong. And that is not fucking okay. I can't imagine being a parent of a kid who is brave enough to speak up and speak their truth and say, hey, mom, dad, this is how I feel. And to work through that as a family. And then to have the community not accept you and bully you. It's not only on that level, because when these people grow older, transgender people are murdered just for being trans. And a lot of them, the greater percentage of them, are Black trans women that are getting murdered. Since 2013, 226 Black transgender women have been murdered. This is not a little thing. And because we as a nation constantly now are saying, oh, we have to stop this. There are 27 state laws in place about who can play in what sports. I'm not going to go through all that, you know, who says what. But the reality is, it's awful. There's no reason for it. The likelihood of a kid even being in the state that wants to do that and they're banning it is like, what? And any kid in any sport is always going to have somebody, unless they're super exceptional, that is better than them. And that doesn't mean that we then say, oh, you can't participate. And most of these transgender kids are not better. I mean, in the sense that they are functioning from an evil playing field. Now, do they have more guts? Do they have more courage? Do they have more focus and determination? Do they practice more? That's what makes somebody outstanding. And sometimes you have, you know, an ability that you're born with, right? To run faster, to swim faster, or Michael Phelps to have arms that extend forever. This is gender terrorism. That's what it is. It's gender terrorism. We are terrorizing these kids and people. And it's got to stop. And the reason what triggered this for me was Kansas literally passed a law that went into effect yesterday that trans people can't have licenses, that they can't drive in Kansas as of Thursday unless their license reflects, you know, who they are. In other words, they're trying to prevent them from driving, surviving, prospering, loving. And and I hear these awful people talking about the rules they want to put in place and how they're worried about their kids. What they worry about your fucking kids being harmed by pedophiles. The president of the United States is somebody who you should be worried to have your children around. And many sheriffs and many pastors, it's everywhere. And yet they get off. Boys get off, by the way, for raping girls. There's just a case, I don't know, a couple of months ago where a kid literally was strangling a girl as he was raping her. And he raped more than one girl, and got off on community service. So all I want to say to you, to anybody who supports this kind of transgender bullshit and is not approaching this with a loving heart, I got nothing for you. Go fuck yourself. These kids deserve better than you. They have every right to choose how they live. It doesn't impact you. It doesn't do shit to you. Why are you so concerned? And now they want to blame them when, there's a shooting. Hey, yeah, you know what? You should focus on white, cis boys if you want to focus on who are killing kids. I'm done. You either walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk and do nothing. You have to walk the talk. I think that's right. Walk the talk. And if you have been one of those people, you need to think about it. You need to really examine that, because it's profoundly disgusting. I will be back tomorrow with more stuff on Epstein. But please, folks, we need to approach these kids with love in our heart and acceptance. I can't imagine if this was happening to my kid. I can't. Take care.